Right, so this is the first recording of many podcasts. It's with Jon Davies from Metal Liverpool, and it is, well, I say podcast, it is the start of us trying to have conversations with people and share them, and replicate you guys overhearing things that you might have heard in a physical gallery, because, in case you need reminding, we're not in one. Yeah, podcast one of many. Go.
I guess it's probably worth you talking a bit about the studios, the size, the scale, how many artists are in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then should I also talk about the Platform One building as well, or just?
Yeah, I think so. I think so because it's important context. That metal isn't solely a studio space.
Mm. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. All right. So, just trying to think of like the best way to start this. So Metal is an artist laboratory that's based in Edge Hill Station. We cater for artists that need studio spaces, but we also have workshop spaces, and in usual times we'll have open workshops with visual artists as well as dancers and musicians, filmmakers, as well as artists that are involved in socially engaged art, and that's kind of our main remit, really. So during normal times, we'll tend to invite people in to have things like dinners, film screenings, that kind of stuff. On top of this, we also have functioning artist studios that cater for tenants that pay in, as well as a couple of organisations that have their home there as well to develop larger projects. And we also provide, I suppose, both formal and informal advice to the organisations that are housed in our main office.
Is it worth talking a bit about the organisations in the main office, or I don't know if that's appropriate.
Just have a brief overview of them. So the organisations that are based in the office at the moment are the Independence Biennial, as well as Cinema Nation, that run sort of political and social film programmes. They've also been.
Is that Michael and Monica?
Yeah, that's Michael and Monica.
Oh, I didn't know what they were called. Sorry.
So they also do. Yeah, they also do the Scalarama, which has been pretty big across.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we have 1 September that run Humanise Film and Garden Clubs, which cater for the local Picton area, and it's a small group of people from low-income backgrounds that basically sort of come together, have food together, watch films, and talk about the films, as well as engage with families and sort of like teach kids the sort of positive aspects to gardening. They work with Andrea Koo, who is our gardener in residence, and she also tends the gardens to like Granby Winter Garden as well as the Blue Coat, and she's been recently helping them with learning about bees, which is pretty awesome.
And so the artists in the studios on Platform 3 as well, who are they? Because I know last time I went, it was when I started writing for Art in Liverpool.
Well, we have so we've got Laura Pullig, who is super talented artist, does a lot of sort of I suppose DIY electronics building stuff. So she's also she does things like maker spaces and those sorts of workshops about sort of wiring together things like solar panels to go with lights and all that, really cool stuff. And then we have Jason Thompson, who's a really good painter, and Brian Hackney, who's also a very talented individual who does both painting as well as sort of long duration films. Yeah.
Do they ever? I mean, are there ever any crossovers between the office and the studio, or are they kept fairly separate?
I think it's really important to sort of to give space to artists that just need to just make really good, beautiful, aesthetically pleasing work. But also, yeah, we have folded in the artists quite recently as well into other projects. So Laura's been working with Edge Hill Youth Club, and also the other artist that we have in Platform One, which is Shimon Mamis, who is part of Bring the Fire Project, which is an outdoor pyrotechnics group. And also Mary Pearson, who is a dancer and kind of has been very well connected and very she's a real sort of powerhouse in the Liverpool performing arts scene as well. So they get involved in projects as and when. Recently I think that Mary's been involved in the Humanize Club recently as well. It's all relatively fluid. I think that the office is possibly more fluid actually, because I think that it's that they are organizations that are trying to make projects happen, and I think that there's strength in numbers in terms of organizations and individuals sort of working together to make really interesting programs.
Does that come back to how Metal functions as an organization? Not Metal National, just Metal Liverpool. The way that artists and office space, there's not an assigned amount of time that each gets to work on projects together, but it kind of works in that way. Because I mean, I know even from my perspective, being there when I'm able to sort of be in the office and it's been a busy environment, it helps. It helps me work just on the day-to-day, just to kind of have people to bounce off on the way to get a coffee.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Liverpool itself is I think is so well connected with each other. All the artists sort of know each other at least tangentially. That I think just sort of being involved, knowing what everyone else is up to and stuff like that is really great, because it means that there isn't any sort of unnecessary competition, and that again, really great things can happen when people collaborate. I think also just like we aren't just sort of looking for sort of revenue raising when it comes to letting out office space. It's also that that we want to build like quite a harmonious sort of office space where everyone brings their own sort of special knowledges and is able to share these knowledges. Really, I think that that's really important, is that we don't have anyone who's like closed off from everyone else. We're not only interested in each other's business, but we're also interested in sort of elevating each other's business as well.
How's this year been then, or last year? With that in mind, the connectedness.
I think it's been, it has been difficult, because I think that a lot of careful plans had sort of been had been changed quite suddenly. We were all sort of collectively working towards doing more kind of collaborative projects where we were able to sort of bring together our audiences and communities a bit better, and develop a like a really interesting program. I know that sort of film is like something that kind of we're all like quite actively interested in. We've got experiences from our team ourselves that that we've worked with. One of our team members has worked in small cinema before, for example. And some of us like regularly go to film festivals. So film is like a real thing that we all kind of discuss. But obviously that's become really difficult, and I think we've tried to replicate that with some online events, but I think that really the things that we really celebrate are like the dinners and the food sharing, so that's been quite difficult. you know, when I took on the role at Metal, I think a year or so ago, you know, like I really, a big part of me wanting to take the job was because I really enjoy, you know, cooking for a lot of people. So yeah, so I've not been able to like exercise my culinary skills as much as I'd like.
Have there been any, practical things off the back of it? I mean, just studios in mind. How have the artists had access to the studios?
You know, we're lucky in the fact that we're not necessarily like a front-facing building all the time. So we don't rely on audience attendance hugely, especially compared to our galleries. That we are sort of nicely tucked away, and that we're also we're more custodians of a building rather than the owners or people that have to like rent it out and consider the financial implications too much. So we've been able to be pretty generous with our tenants and offer discounts on rent and stuff like that, really. So that's been lucky for us. But having said that, like I think that it's been a bit of a mind boggle as well, because of the sort of everyday changing stipulations of things like lockdown, or like what is essential office use and things like that, because really we're not essential office users. We can all work from home, but for certain people's peace of mind, mental health, well-being, and just affordability at home, it's pretty difficult to be like a performance artist or a dancer at home. There's not the space. Whereas if we vacated a space for 6 months, then I think that I think it's fairly safe for us to be able to let a regular tenant come in and use the space, because there is a lot of space to use. But it's also given us like a good opportunity to really rethink like what the purpose of our space is, for example. So we've kind of we're sort of in the middle of renovating a part of the Platform 3 building, which has sort of been neglected a little over the past few years. That we had this like beautiful sort of blue cinema space with like old seats, but like because of accessibility issues we couldn't run cinema there anymore. So we're sort of looking into changing that up into becoming either more artist studio berths or a large project space that people can do installations in, for example.
There's 4 of the artists from the Independence Biennial. So when this goes out as a recording or film, or however we end up presenting it, their work will be live. And I think I'm right in saying 3 of them have been using the studio so far. Obviously, on a rota basis, I think one comes in one day and the next comes in the other day, and they sort of clean the space in between.
I mean, at the moment, it's really Sorrel who's using it regularly. Jay Hampton's beginning to use the garden, which is great, because again, I've not really, I haven't got the know-how of like how to tend a garden, for example. So to have someone come in and be able to use it and sort of contribute is really helpful. I think Sophia's going to come in the next few weeks. But like pretty much Sorrel has the run of one of the studios, which is really great, because I think that she brings so much like positive energy to what we're doing, actually. Both herself and her dog as well. So
pipe.
Yeah, exactly. So that's been really, that's been really good. And like, because I've not been going to the building regularly, but on days that I catch them, it's been really nice to catch up with her. So
that's a point with the garden, because the garden is a kind of it's a fairly unique thing. So obviously Blue Coat has a garden that their studio members can use, but it's a public space. I think for Metal, it's quite a unique thing to have a garden which is 90% of the time just there for the tenants, which is quite lovely, really.
I mean, it's kind of it sort of uses like some sort of experimental space to because I think that's where Metal's going in the sort of both the near and the distant future, is that a lot of our projects are going to be climate and environmentally centered. So to have that as a resource is really vital, actually, because we both want to look at like the macro things of climate change, or like or the sort of devastation that is that's ongoing, but also just like but also just access as well, because I think that's like one of the biggest issues is that people don't have access to their own land, to be able to sort of grow their own and things like that, really. So if we're able to sort of lead by that, and kind of, I know that usually our garden's like locked and stuff, but we're always trying to like fold it into either grow crops for people, or to teach people like how to grow stuff, or to have it as a bit more of a public space. I've always got the dream to like turn the entrance on platform 3 into like a massive garden or something like that, but I don't think that Northern will let us do that anytime soon.
I guess the question, the way it's framed to every studio that I'm asking this to, is more in relation to post-lockdowns, but with Metal, I guess the context is that you're as an organisation, you have future plans, which is more than a lot of studios have. Not to disparage studios, but they live within their means and they exist within the project they're doing there and then. What are the future plans for Metal then, outside of the context of lockdown?
Yeah, so I guess the sort of live projects that are coming up would be that we've got the Littlewoods Building Heritage Project that should be coming out pretty soon. So we're working with a filmmaker, Laura Spark, and a writer, Jeff Young, to do some documenting on the Littlewoods pools and the women who worked in the Littlewoods building, because it was I think it was like the largest employer of women in Liverpool, at least, if not like the wider Merseyside region. And before lockdown, we had some really great events where we invited them for like cake to like share stories and stuff like that. And it's just like so many amazing like stories of like day trips and like making friends with people, and like various contests that were in the space. So that's like a project that's coming up soon. We're developing some more projects around climate change soon. I don't know where we're up to in terms of announcing that sort of stuff, but we recently had the Season for Change lab, where we invited 4 artists to develop some work, talk about their practice, and sort of be part of a cohort, as well as conducting some really interesting workshops with scientists, gardeners, artists, you name it, just to sort of start kind of prompting these artists into like new questions and new ideas of creativity. So we got that, and then next year, I think it's next year. Yeah, next year is like Metal as an organisation is our 20th birthday. So we've got that, and as Metal as a wider site, we're working with our Southend site right now to deliver Estuary Festival, which is sort of like an outdoor arts festival with like 107-mile walk or something like that of public displays. So it'll be really interesting to see how all that pans out, because it's kind of our first like major exhibition whilst COVID's happening, basically, and like I think we as an organisation have done really well to change that up and make it accessible whilst all this is happening, really.